I'm just confused why we keep pretending she exists, Ashley said, flicking her French manicured fingers in Jordan's direction like she was swatting away a fly, not a person. Grateful should be her job title. Not like Dev. The room laughed, or at least did that thing where no one dares not laugh because the boss is in the room and the boss's stepdaughter was the one talking. Jordan didn't blink. She just stared down at her coffee. Cold now, like the room, like the part of her brain that used to care. 2 years ago, that comment would have shattered her. Today, it just slid down into the pit where all the other insults went, like trash in a chute, forgotten by everyone except the person crushed at the bottom. Across the table, a project manager muttered something about Ashley really bringing the energy, and someone else clapped. Jordan didn't look up. She already knew how this would go. Ashley would slap together a word salad about revolutionary disruption in the AI marketplace. Someone would staple it to Jordan's actual code, and voila, innovation. Then Ashley would take another victory lap while Jordan rewrote the backend API in a bathroom stall with bad Wi-Fi. If this sounds familiar, hey, maybe you've worked corporate. Maybe you've met an Ashley. If not, lucky you. Meantime, if you're enjoying the story so far, tap that subscribe and like button. 97% of y'all are just lurking, and trust me, we see you, and it really helps the crew keep unearthing these stories. Now, back to the disaster. The meeting was about the upcoming investor pitch, big fish, big funding, big future. Ashley was spearheading the vision, which meant she'd been shouting ideas like what if we used blockchain for emotions, and calling it strategy. Jordan, on the other hand, had spent the last 6 months rebuilding the algorithm from scratch after Ashley's last brainstorm corrupted half the data pipeline. Her nights were Red Bull and regret. Her mornings were Slack messages that said things like, "Can you make it more intuitive? Like make the math feel warmer?" But when it came time to divvy up roles for the pitch, Ashley declared, "I'll present. Obviously, Dad will open. And Jordan just sit in the back, in case something breaks." Worst part, Jordan nodded, like she was grateful, like she hadn't built the damn thing that was going to be demoed, like her name wasn't on every Git commit since the start. She used to fight back, quietly, in pull requests in private chats. Once she'd even asked the CEO, Ashley's dad, if she could be introduced during a demo. "Ashley's the face of the product," he'd said gently, like explaining to a toddler why the moon doesn't belong to them. "You're the engine." But engines don't do press. It wasn't even rage anymore. It was rot. The kind that sinks deep, settles in the bones. Jordan didn't want applause. She wanted out, or justice, or maybe to be seen. That night, alone in the office while the others went to some pre-pitch vision alignment dinner, read, overpriced wine and ego handjobs, Jordan ran diagnostics on the staging server. Ashley had broken the environment again. Of course she had. She'd somehow looped a recursive function that duplicated user data until the local disk cried uncle. Jordan sighed, cracked her knuckles, and fixed it. No thanks, no acknowledgement, just another silent save in a life full of them. As she pushed the fix, something strange stirred in her chest. Not anger, not yet, but something colder, cleaner, like the feeling right before a storm hits, pressure dropping, air sharpening. The kind of quiet that comes before everything breaks. She looked around the empty office, all glass and fake plants. Everyone gone, and she thought, maybe I'll call in sick tomorrow. Maybe I won't show up to the circus. But something, a whisper, a wait, a whisper made of weight, told her show up. Let the room see what happens. The email subject line read, VC pitch locked Tuesday 10 a.m. mandatory attendance. Jordan clicked it without hope, already guessing the cast list. Sure enough, Ashley was leading the vision presentation, the CEO would set the strategic tone, and the rest of them, the actual builders, were instructed to be present in case of technical queries. Translation: sit quietly, don't breathe too loud, and maybe, someone will throw you a bagel if Ashley doesn't eat them all first. But this wasn't just any pitch. This was Arcadia Capital. Real money, real leverage. The kind of VC that could turn their niche, SAW app into an IPO machine, or expose it as a house of cards held together by stolen credit and Jordan's unthanked labor. Jordan leaned back in her chair and stared at the ceiling of the open concept bullpen they called the collab zone. Fluorescent lights buzzed like bugs in her skull. Her inbox was a graveyard of code reviews she'd fixed for other people. Her Slack pings were mostly Ashley tagging her with questions like, can we make the dashboard less, data why? The meeting invite included a smiley face. Ashley signed it, let's crush this. Flex sparkles, Jordan imagined crushing her laptop instead. That night, the office emptied out around her like always. Ashley and her friends, the BizDev bros, the product evangelist who once said Kubernetes sounded too Russian, had a pre-game strategy cocktail thing in Midtown. Jordan stayed, not because she was a martyr, because she knew, deep in her stomach, something was going to break and no one else would fix it. She opened up the demo instance, and there it was. Ashley had been playing around in the config again, probably trying to add some interactive AI moment she dreamed up on a treadmill. She'd hard-coded a null object into the main loop. One refresh of the dashboard and the whole thing crashed into white screen oblivion. Jordan rubbed her eyes. No version control, no rollback notes. Just digital arson in the shape of Ashley's latest innovation. She didn't scream, didn't even sigh, she just started typing. Line by line, she unraveled the garbage, rebuilt the logic, rewrote the recursive hook that Ashley clearly Googled and misunderstood, reconstructed the entire user path and staging, while listening to a 12-hour ambient rain loop and eating cold vending machine almonds. When she finished, the sun was starting to rise through the slatted blinds. She pushed the update, slid the keyboard away, and whispered "You're welcome" to no one. Her phone buzzed. A Slack message from Ashley. "Hey, just saw the dashboard works again. Thought it was down last night. Maybe it fixed itself." Manifesting folded sparkles, Jordan didn't reply. She just stared at the blinking cursor for a moment and thought, she thinks the system fixed itself. She thinks she deserves this money. She thinks no one sees, but someone would see, soon, and when they did, Jordan wasn't sure what she'd do. But the part of her that used to accept it, the silence, the shadows, the scraps, that part was dying. And something new was taking root, something cold, clean, dangerous, something like enough. Jordan hovered over the request sick day button like it was a detonator. Her mouse trembled just slightly, not from nerves, but the twitchy exhaustion of too many nights wired on caffeine and swallowed pride. She could fake a migraine, a family emergency. Hell, she could say nothing and just ghost the pitch entirely. They probably wouldn't notice until the server hiccuped and no one else knew where the logs lived. She imagined it, curled up in bed with blackout curtains, phone on airplane mode, Ashley floundering through jargon she didn't understand while the investors squinted and nodded politely. Crash and burn would be delicious. Deserved, even, but that was the fantasy version. In real life, Ashley would still spin it. The CEO would blame the intern, and Jordan, she'd just be the ghost in the wires. Again, unseen, again, disposable, again. She opened Slack. Her cursor hovered. Then a ping slid in from someone unexpected, Marcus. Marcus was an old-school back-end dev, the kind who had no time for Ashley's brand of Sparkle CEO theater. He wasn't warm. Exactly, but he was fair. More importantly, he'd seen Jordan's commits. All of them. "Marcus, saw your rollback last night. Nice save, again. Don't skip the pitch. Let the room see what happens." Just that. No emojis, no false cheer. But something in those 3 lines snapped her back into herself. Like a hand grabbing your collar before you fall asleep behind the wheel. Let the room see what happens. Jordan didn't reply. She just closed the sick day tab, packed her laptop, and slipped her charger into her bag like a weapon. Tuesday, pitch day. The conference room smelled like overpriced lavender and Ashley's Joe Malone perfume. A dozen chairs, a ring light setup, a carafe of cucumber water no one would drink. Ashley stood at the head of the table, flanked by 2 product managers who looked like they'd gotten their MBAs off Etsy. Jordan entered quietly, took the seat farthest from the TV, and opened her laptop like armor. No eye contact, no greeting. She wasn't there to smile. Ashley didn't acknowledge her, just muttered to one of her flunkies, "Let's pray the dashboard doesn't randomly crash again." Jordan didn't flinch. 10 minutes before the VCs arrived, the CEO swaggered in. Blue blazer, no tie, morning team, he said like he was about to announce a golf tournament. His eyes passed over Jordan like she was a stray shadow. Ashley handed him a printout of the pitch deck, color-coded with pastel highlighters and useless graphs, and began doing vocal warm-ups under her breath like she was about to sing the national anthem. Jordan sipped her coffee. Cold again. She liked it that way now. No illusions, just the taste of what was. The door opened. 2 men and 1 woman entered the Arcadia Capital team. Power suits, calm eyes, quiet voices. The kind of people who didn't need to yell to be heard. Ashley launched in before they'd even sat down. "We're so thrilled to have you here," she beamed, teeth sparkling, voice pitching just slightly above normal, the vocal equivalent of jazz hands. Jordan watched from the back. She wasn't hoping for anything, not expecting it, but for the first time in forever she wasn't hiding. She was present, breathing, braced. Ashley clicked to the first slide, a glossy diagram of the revolutionary adaptive logic engine powering our platform. Jordan smiled, just barely. She'd written every line of that logic, and if this room was really as smart as their money said they were about to notice. Ashley moved through the slides like she was hosting a tech-themed game show. "And what makes our solution so revolutionary is the way we've reimagined adaptive scaling through a dynamic data logic layer. Basically, it thinks for you." The Arcadia VCs nodded politely, but Jordan saw it. That minute shift in posture. The faint raise of an eyebrow. They weren't buying it. Ashley clicked to the next slide, a screenshot of the system dashboard. Jordan's dashboard. The layout, the filtering logic, the color palette calibrated for ADA compliance. Ashley once called it too clinical, but now she was bragging about its clean, minimalist UX. "And here you can see how the algorithm prioritizes inputs based on weighted context sensitivity," Ashley continued, waving her hand like she was conducting an invisible orchestra of buzzwords, which was a huge technical challenge, obviously, but we cracked it. Jordan could practically hear the lie hit the air like a dropped wrench in an empty room. Then came the question. It wasn't loud, wasn't hostile, just curious. "Hold on," said the woman from Arcadia, the one with the navy suit and quiet eyes. "You said you built this? This exact algorithm?" Ashley blinked. Her perfect smile twitched. "Well, I mean, I led the design," she said, gesturing vaguely, like conceptually. "I worked closely with the engineering team to bring it to life." The woman glanced down at her notes. So you wrote the logic for the multipath resolver? Ashley froze for half a second, just half. Then she laughed, a brittle, too high sound. Oh, we're all hands on here. It's definitely a team effort. But I, definitely spearheaded the, adaptive ideation process. Jordan's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Not typing, just still. Ashley turned toward her, the smile curdling. Jordan, do you want to jump in on the specifics? Jordan looked up. The room followed her gaze. She wasn't supposed to speak, was supposed to be invisible, seated in the back like furniture. But the woman from Arcadia leaned forward slightly, curious. The other two VCs looked toward Jordan now, too. Jordan cleared her throat. The multipath resolver routes input events using a dynamic context-weighting matrix. It's based on behavioral logic trees. Each node evaluates relevance in real time against user-specific telemetry. That's what keeps latency down while preserving individualization. Silence. Ashley laughed again. Right, that's what I was getting at. The VC raised an eyebrow. You built that? Jordan didn't look at Ashley. She didn't look at the CEO. She didn't even look at Marcus, who was seated 2 rows down, watching her like a man seeing something bloom in winter. She just said quietly but clearly, yes. And in that moment, the air shifted. Nothing exploded, no one screamed. No chairs flew, but Jordan felt it, that silent crack in the foundation. That first fissure in the illusion. They saw her, and Ashley knew it. The man in the center, salt and pepper hair, tailored blazer, watch that probably cost more than Jordan's car, leaned forward, squinting slightly. He hadn't spoken much, letting the younger VCs ask their polished questions while he scanned the room with surgical boredom. But now his eyes were locked on her. Wait, he said, slow and certain, pointing a finger. I know you. Jordan froze, halfway between breath and silence. You demoed something like this at Recode 3 years ago, he continued, tone sharpening. Early-stage AI logic framework. Ran live simulations on adaptive traffic systems. Ashley stiffened. The room shifted slightly, subtly like a ripple under glass. Jordan nodded once. Yes, she said, that was the prototype. This version is more stable. It evolved. Ashley let out a half laugh. Oh well, we all take inspiration from. The VC cut her off without turning. He was still facing Jordan now. Fully. His chair creaked as it shifted toward her like a courtroom spotlight. You built that, he said. It wasn't a question. Jordan looked at him evenly. I did. The woman from Arcadia leaned forward, her elbow on the table. That was you? We still reference that demo in internal strategy decks. People called it too ambitious. I remember that, the younger VC chimed in. The one where the framework rewrote its own logic tree mid-demo. That was you? Jordan didn't smile. Not yet, her chest was tight, voice steady. Yes, she said. I'd been working on the underlying logic for a while. The company wasn't interested in pursuing it back then, so I moved it into this. She tilted her chin toward the screen Ashley's slides. Ashley swallowed so hard the room heard it. The CEO cleared his throat like he wanted to redirect, but the moment had its own gravity now, and it wasn't orbiting him anymore. The lead VC smiled, not wide, not warm but approving, like a man who'd just spotted a real diamond in a sea of costume jewelry. Now, he said, folding his hands, now we're getting somewhere. That sound, chairs adjusting, pens being set down, the almost imperceptible hush of people listening. It was louder than applause. Ashley didn't speak, couldn't. Her hands were still on the clicker, but no one was looking at the slides anymore. They were all looking at Jordan. And for the first time in a long, long time, Jordan looked back. Ashley's mouth flapped open like a dying fish trying to explain quantum mechanics. Well, obviously it's a collaborative effort, she stammered, gesturing in wild little circles like flailing with some incredibility. Jordan's super talented, she, translated my vision into code. That's what engineers do, right? Jordan didn't move, didn't blink, she just watched. Like someone watching a snake eat its own tail. Lead VC raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The woman from Arcadia spoke instead, her voice soft but sharp. Jordan, could you walk us through the actual architecture? The part that underpins the adaptive decision logic from the ground up. Jordan closed her laptop slowly, placed her hands on the table and spoke. No slideshow, no fluff, no corporate metaphors about thought leadership ecosystems. Just truth delivered with surgical precision. The algorithm works off a branching behavioral matrix. Each user interaction is scored in real time against contextual markers pulled from session data and environmental triggers. We cache those scores using a rolling decay function so priority isn't just based on frequency, but recency weighted by predictive intent. The young VC blinked. So you're factoring not just what they did, but what they're about to do? Yes, Jordan replied. Because we integrated a modular schema on the back end, the system can reprioritize logic trees without requiring a redeploy. That's how it adapts mid-session. Silence. A good silence. Ashley made a choking sound that could have been a laugh or a gasp. I mean, I helped outline some of the big picture stuff. Like the personalization angle, you called it a vibe filter, Jordan said, flat, not cruel, not mocking, just factual. One of the VCs snorted into his coffee. The CEO finally spoke, voice too loud, too late. Well, I think what we're seeing here is a great example of our company's team-first culture. You know, blending visionary leadership with top engineering talent. Sure, the lead VC cut in. But let's be clear, vision without execution is hallucination, and what we're funding is execution. Ashley looked like someone had slapped her with a cold rag. The CEO chuckled nervously and reached for his water. Missed the coaster. Jordan said nothing. She didn't need to. They weren't talking to Ashley anymore. They weren't asking for the deck or the roadmap or the branding strategy. They were asking Jordan questions, real questions, about load balancing, multi-user conflict resolution, long-term model decay. Questions she answered with the quiet clarity of someone who'd lived in the code so long, she could hear it breathe. And for once, no one cut her off. No one translated her words into digestible sound bites. No one slapped Ashley's name over her mouth, they just listened. Jordan didn't smile, didn't gloat, but deep in her gut, a quiet fire lit, not rage this time, but fuel. This was the balance tipping. Finally, and Jordan was the one holding the fulcrum. By 3 p.m., the Slack channels looked like someone had tossed a grenade into a kindergarten class full of marketing interns. Hash pitch prep had exploded into passive-aggressive finger-pointing. Ashley was in full meltdown mode, firing off frantic DMs to anyone who would listen. Ashley, she totally ambushed me. Jordan went off script and hijacked the entire meeting. That's not how we present cohesion. Dad, can we call an emergency sync? Jordan sipped chamomile tea at her desk like it was bourbon. Her inbox pinged, a new thread titled Urgent, Narrative Clarification. Classic. Inside was a PR draft from the CEO himself. While today's pitch took an unexpected turn, it only reinforced the collaborative nature of our team culture. Jordan's surprise contribution was a testament to the strength of our internal cross-functional partnerships. She didn't finish reading. Instead, opened a fresh email to arcadiadiligence@capitalgroup.com. Subject, clarification algorithm ownership. She attached a PDF of Git commit logs showing her authorship. An email chain from 14 months ago where she'd pitched the prototype internally ignored. Screenshots of Ashley's edits to the pitch deck the night before, stripping her name off the architecture slide. No accusations, no speeches, just evidence. Cold and clean. She hit send. 10 minutes later, a reply landed. From one of the senior VCs, the woman in the navy suit. Jordan, appreciate the transparency. This helps clarify things on our end, we'll adjust accordingly. R, short, surgical, decisive. And just like that, Jordan felt it, the first breath of real oxygen in years. Like she'd been breathing through a straw and someone finally cut the plastic. Back in the office, Ashley slammed a drawer hard enough to make someone yelp. The CEO was pacing between glass offices, phone pressed to his ear, whisper yelling about optics and narrative recovery. Marketing was already trying to spin a new tagline, built by vision, powered by brilliance. Whatever the hell that meant, but none of it touched her. Jordan sat at her desk, scrolling quietly, watching the castle they'd built on her back start to wobble. The stone was cracking. She wasn't done, not yet, but she didn't need to rage or rant or beg. Truth was a slow weapon, and she just pulled the pin. The follow-up call was supposed to be routine, 15 minutes, a few post-pitch clarifications, light touchpoints before Arcadia's next internal vote. Ashley showed up in full armor, blowout flawless, silk blouse that screamed female founder energy, teeth bleached to the point of vengeance. Jordan, she wore a black hoodie and old headphones, hair in a loose bun, calm, surgical. Tired in that way only truth can afford you. The Zoom lobby buzzed. One by one, the Arcadia team joined. The lead VC, let's call him Conrad, unmuted first. Classic move. Thanks for jumping back in, he said, eyes flicking across the screen. We've reviewed everything. Appreciate the material you sent over, Jordan. Helped us cut through the noise. Ashley perked up. Happy to jump in here, Conrad held up a hand. We're still very interested, he said evenly. We'd like to continue this conversation with Jordan. Alone, silence. Jordan's pulse stilled. Ashley blinked, then blinked again. Her mouth open, not just surprised, but offended, like someone had just asked her to vacate her own birthday party. Wait, what? She said, laughing nervously. I'm the product lead. Jordan's an engineer. She doesn't handle investment strategy. Conrad didn't flinch. We don't invest in titles. We fund capability, not theater. The CEO, dialed in from some neutral corporate background with a fake bookshelf behind him, leaned into the mic. Hey, I think what Ashley's trying to say is there's been a lot of evolution on our side. This is a unified effort, and Jordan's contributions are part of a bigger vision. Conrad cut him off. Then the vision needs a different spokesperson. Ashley looked like she'd been slapped with a wet contract. Jordan didn't say a word, just sat there, hands folded, eyes steady. She felt it happen the turn, the invisible power cord between Ashley and the room, unplugged. The oxygen that used to rush toward her when she spoke, gone. All of it, the spotlight, the attention, the gravity had shifted. And it was facing Jordan now. Conrad nodded once toward her screen. We'll set up a follow-up. You drive. The call ended. Ashley didn't speak. Neither did the CEO. Jordan leaned back in her chair for the first time in months, maybe years, and breathed. All the way in, all the way out, full, not through a straw, not in a corner. But center stage, under a light she didn't steal, didn't beg for, didn't twist herself to earn, just her. Finally seen, the call ended. The The Zoom chime echoed like a church bell at the end of a funeral. Nobody spoke. The CEO stared at the blank screen, lips parted like he wanted to say something, some last spin, some final pivot. But even he knew the pitch was dead. Not the deal, the pitch. Ashley sat motionless, manicured nails gripping the arms of her chair like she could claw her way back into relevance. Her eyes were on Jordan, but for the first time they didn't carry contempt. They carried fear. Jordan didn't gloat, didn't smirk, she just closed her laptop. Softly, stood. The wheels of her chair creaked as she pushed back. A sound louder than any applause she'd never received. She walked toward the door, steady, not rushing, not waiting for permission, just done. The war wasn't loud, but it was over, and she'd won. Ashley's voice cracked out behind her like static. Jordan, wait, but the voice didn't matter anymore. She didn't stop. The boardroom door clicked open. Light from the hallway spilled in like sunrise, and standing there, leaning casually against the wall, was Conrad, the lead VC. He didn't say hello, didn't ask for a resume. He just looked at her the way only people who see you can. You ever thought about founding? He asked. Jordan paused just for a moment, then turned toward him with something new on her face, not pride, not bitterness, a smile, the real kind. Actually, she said, I've got some ideas. He nodded. Let's talk. Behind her, the boardroom door swung closed, sealed like a tomb. No more decks, no more fake smiles, no more stolen credit. Ahead of her, light, space, a hallway that led somewhere she chose. And in that boardroom she left behind, every chair that used to face Ashley now faced the door Jordan had just walked through. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.